when you have a high property tax base, you can provide things for your kids, right?
Yeah.
We know that. When you have low, like real estate value, the amount that the person is burdened with is higher. So say you're in a rich community, your tax rate might be 1.7 per $1.70 per thousand for the schools,
Yeah.
even though you got a way better school,
Right.
because you got high real estate and you've got a good population of people. Then you go to a small rural community, and trying to provide an adequate education with the property values being low, but you still need to meet that per pupil cost.
Yep.
Population probably not so high. You're talking almost $7 per thousand. And so that type of thing isn't going to change. So the things that aren't going to change is that, right? The things that aren't going to change is when districts that are small and rural, which New Hampshire has a lot, this open enrollment, kids are going to be heading to other schools at about $18,000 a kid.
Right.
District picks up that cost, right? So just because I sent one kid at $18,000 doesn't mean I can turn the lights off, close a classroom, get rid of a teacher, right? And so every time, 4 kids leave, let's say, to go to Dover for their tech program and all of the good things that these other communities can offer, that's the cost of a teacher, 4 kids.
Yeah.
But we still have to have our schools open. So it's the combination of the open enrollment, the tax structure, all of those things make it completely inequitable. So I don't think that's going to change between now and the election, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Those topics.
No, I don't think it'll change for even longer than that.
Okay. And then when you throw in there the EFA costs, the loss of the dividends tax, like all of those things. And then, by the way, they're trying to overturn Claremont, right?
Right.
So those things I think will stay.
Okay.
I think it's important to talk about, these are real dollars, right? Like these are real, people work, they pay property taxes, and then those real dollars leave their community.
Yeah, no, and that's real. And a lot of people don't understand that. They just think that all the warrant articles are raising their taxes.
Oh no, they try to turn it back on the school. Like this, where was this?
Yeah, like the school is just a scapegoat. The biggest reason why I got super excited about having you do this with me is because I know your background. How do you put it? You got hooded in 22. Is that right?
Yeah, you can say that.
Is that
sure.
the process?
But you were hooded.
But you got your doctorate in 22.
Yep, 2022.
And I know you. I mean, we ran together. You're super passionate. And it's education. That's a huge topic right here. And we have talked about it in other episodes, but not with you. I want to hear your opinion on this. And so with what you just told me about Portsmouth and Farmington and the different things, do you think that the kids, for example, like I'm not picking on them, but because of the difference in Farmington and Portsmouth, are the Farmington kids getting less of an education than the Portsmouth kids? And I know you could pick other towns to to compare them, but do you think it's that bad?
So I'm the director of curriculum and learning.
Yeah.
And I bring in a lot of grants. I'm ambitious. I want the best for these kids,
Of
right?
course, yes.
So it's not just title money. It's New Hampshire Charitable. I knock on their door. We need 5 stoves for the culinary room, right?
Yeah.
They donated. We're doing this Rocketing into Reading program, right? So I knock on Children's Literacy Fund, right? So, and right now we're in the middle of a congressional grant to do some improvements at Henry Wilson, much needed. Hadn't been renovated since 1950. It was built in 1954, 56, and no major renovations. We are talking a really outdated building, which all of those things, energy's leaking out the windows. So my job is to go get money.
Okay. I mean, we need somebody to
So at this point, I'm going to say no. But here's where we lose. We lose in a couple spots. Number one, our pay scale for teachers. We are definitely somewhat of a mill for lovely students coming out of college, ambitious, wonderful teachers. And then, oh, if I just go 20 minutes down the road, I get a $20,000 raise.
That's substantial.
So we get them started. We have mentor programs. I mean, we have it all, but we can't pay that out. So then we're back in the mill, new board, new staff orientations, all the things, getting those teachers through. And so we lose out there. We lose out on our facilities. Like I said, we're trying to get a congressional grant for the Henry Wilson Memorial School.
Yep.
Shaheen has been very supportive of that. So far, we
Right,
haven't submitted it yet, but we're looking for the solar panels, the new windows. The windows are the same windows. Those old-fashioned awning windows that only open up about 12 inches.
Yeah.
And so, not that facilities are everything, but you do lose out, and taxpayers lose out because we can't do the energy upgrades. And so there's real dollars going out the window as we put Band-Aids on stuff, right? So they lose there, and they somewhat lose in, I want to say, like, enrichment in terms of what we can offer. Because you got to pay your teachers stipends to do clubs, and that value isn't too high. It's not enough of an incentive. And they lose out maybe transportation. You got to attract bus drivers, which have been in shortage. You've got to attract your special ed teachers, and those are also expensive. And we're required by law to do that, of course. So they have more struggles. It's the difference between poverty and being upper middle class.
Yeah.
Upper middle class, you can go out to dinner, you can do this to your house, you can do that. You don't really, you budget for it, but you don't really think about it. Whereas when you're in a lower income situation, everything is a cost, and it's a deep cost.
Is there an end goal you think here? Like, why would they want to shortchange our kids, our schools? Like, what's the goal here in your opinion?
I don't know. I just keep saying, why do they hate us so much? Why do they, every turn they can, try to throw something at us that is going to hurt our rural school communities? And the ones that are going to get hurt the most are the small rural communities, which New Hampshire is full of. Farmington, Middleton, Milton, all in Stratford County, New Durham, all at Stratford, town I live in, Barrington,
Yeah.
growing, so maybe not as hurt. But there they all are lined up. And perhaps you've been watching school board meetings.
A little bit, yeah.
There's a lot of cuts being talked about in reduction in force. You have Durham, Stratford County, right? Oyster River. I believe they were just going to cut, I think it was maybe 6 or 7 teachers for next year's budget. But the town rallied and said, no, don't cut those positions.
And that doesn't sound like a big number, but 6 or 7 teachers, especially if you have like 30 kids per classroom.
Yeah.
That's a lot of kids.
Yeah. And it depends on where you're cutting them from, too, right?
Right. That's
so
true.
Are you cutting an arts teacher? Are you cutting, the enrichment pieces that I'm talking about that lose out, right? Are you cutting a world language, right?
Yeah.
We can only have one world language teacher at the Farmington High School. Whereas you go to other schools, they've got 5 or 6. They're offering Mandarin, they're offering Spanish, French, Italian, Latin, right? And so there is the difference. This is, the core subjects we're good at. We're doing great at those. But when it comes to offering those luxe items, you can't.
How long have you been in education?
So about 25 years. So I started out with an environmental science degree.
Yeah.
Worked in the hazardous waste industry, which I was a chemist in North Andover.
Oh, you've been busy.
And it was a really cool time to be working in that field in the 80s because it was right after the W.R. Grace case. There's a famous movie about it with John Travolta, A Civil Action. And so it was about this leukemia cluster in Woburn. and all this hazardous waste had been being dumped.
Yeah.
And why I say it was an interesting time to work is because the CERCLA and Right to Know Acts were being passed in the 80s. And in the old days, you could drive and dump, right? So
Yep.
that was okay. After X date, no more.
Right.
There had to be an inventory. How much did you take in? How much did you use? Here's how much we think might evaporate. Where's the rest? Okay. So it was a really cool time to work. We were doing like inventories. We were out in the field doing things, and it was just a really interesting time to work where things changed. And if you watch that movie, A Civil Action, he's caught in those crosshairs, if you will. So there's these giant leukemia clusters. It was in the newspaper, like it all happened. And he's trying to sue the companies.
Yeah.
And following the paper trail was almost impossible because there was no paper trail prior to a certain thing. And so after this case in Woburn, and W.R. Grace, which was a huge manufacturer of, I think, trichloroethylene or some compound,
Yeah.
things started to change. And so what we did was we took in the hazardous waste and we sorted it and sent it to where it belonged.
Hopefully you're wearing protective
Oh, yeah.
equipment and
Yeah,
all
yeah.
that. So,
Of course. Yeah.
okay.
And so I really enjoyed that. And I was always dealing with the idea that, either I wanted to go into environmental law or something with environmental education.
Yeah.
And so I decided when my kids were born that I would get my master's in environmental ed, and I would work for nonprofits, which I did. I worked for the Sierra Club in New Hampshire, and I also worked for New Hampshire Citizens Alliance out of Concord, New Hampshire,
Yeah.
which was a really cool job as well. We were working on the Bow power plant or the Merrimack station at the time.
Yeah.
And luckily that is now not burning coal. But at the time we were doing all kinds of meetings with the communities, the asthma rates, all the different things that were going on in Allenstown, in the surrounding places around Merrimack Station.
I'm nervous that you just said where it is because the Trump administration is going to want to fire it back up.
Yeah, so those power plants were I think they're called the Filthy 14.
Yeah.
And there were 14 of them, or maybe there were 12 in New England. And
There's no such thing as
was
clean
one
coal.
of the last ones.
Yeah.
And you still hear people talk like in mass about Brighton Station. There's a bunch of them. And they're really, the data I have on those in terms of mercury emissions, the fallout, the asthma rates, like in Harvard did a study in the circular demographics of how much the asthma rates were in children.
Yeah.
As you go out in bands from the power plant. Decrease as you go out, but right around them they're hugely heavy. And mercury too was a big emission coming out of power plants.
Yeah, I was reading the other day. I love science. I love picking up studies and seeing what's going on out there. We got some really smart people, in this country. And anyway, the point is, they were saying like if you live, the closer you live to a nuclear power plant, the more likely you are to have a cancer diagnosis.
Yeah.
Because of the radiation and everything. And it's funny because, what you're talking about, the 80s and even into the 90s when regulation was really coming. We were just finding out so much information in the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, like seatbelts save lives, radiation's bad for us. And it's crazy. Have we gone far enough though? Because I feel like we've talked about it as like a state, as a country, but I don't know there's much like action into reducing those kind of things. Do you have any insight on that at all?
So, we have the Clean Air Act, the Clean Water Act, all the acts that President Nixon kicked off. Endangered Species Act, they're all in the early 70s.
Yep.
Maybe it was Obama, or it could have been Biden. I can't remember. One of those really upped it and took the grandfather clause away from these coal-powered plants. And that's when it became not affordable anymore.
I see.
Because they were all built in the 60s. They were grandfathered in because they were built before the Clean Air Act.
Yep.
And Clean Water Act. And they said, they'll just phase out. The market will phase them out because they're just not going to be able to compete with new technology. Well, they didn't. It was people who phased them out.
Yeah.
People, just like Merrimack Station, who said, we don't want this coal burning anymore. It's dangerous and it's not good. I do feel like we chase something a lot. So, like, if you remember in the 90s, we chased MTBE,
Yep.
right? Now we're chasing PFAS, right? And the Roundup chemical, right?
Yeah. And I guess you could
And
say it's good because we're learning and
we are, but they're always, the chemical companies, they make a little change.
yeah.
Glyphosate has been in the news in terms of its carcinogenic properties, and that's what's in Roundup, right?
Yeah.
And they've been losing their lawsuits. And so what are they going to do? Are they going to change the formula by, just adding another carbon ring or something? And then, okay, now it's called this, and let's wait 30 years and get it tested. Oops.
And then bring it through the
So I think you
courts
just,
and-
as a citizen of the earth, you kind of have to be your own best police,
yeah.
because I feel like we're always chasing something. Mercury, lead, whatever it is, there's always these dangerous chemicals in the environment, and we just have to. PCBs, that was huge in the 80s as well. And so you have to be the best advocate for yourself and your family, right?
Oh,
And the
absolutely.
environment around you, your town, as local as you can get, right?
Yeah.
So I always like to say, like, the localest you can get is your body.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
All your
right,
cells.
your immediate.
Right.
Yes.
And then your home.
Yeah.
And then your yard. And then your neighborhood, and then your town, and
Yeah.
where are your boundaries of your locality, right? How do you support the best environmental programs you can within those?
Yeah, everybody wants to live in the best environment they can get their hands on, but unfortunately,
People don't realize.
it depends where you live. We're extremely lucky here in New Hampshire that we don't have like smog. We don't have, a lot of the nastiness that some other places do.
Yep.
I mean, that's not to say that we couldn't
We
have
did have
that.
acid rain for a long time.
Did we really?
Yeah. So New England is kind of called the tailpipe of the United States.
Oh, this is the first time I'm hearing this.
So the wind, comes
Yeah.
across the country, and then it exits up over us and into Canada. In general, that's the pattern.
Yeah.
So you can see that when you see the nor'easters come, they hit that, and up they come over the northeast,
Yeah.
right? And so back when we had, a lot of industry in Ohio, and Indiana and New York, Buffalo,
Oh.
etc., so they tried to solve their own acid rain problems by building their smokestacks higher. And then the upper currents took them to New England. If you go up to Plymouth, they've been doing a study for years on acid rain. I can't think of the name of the forest plot, but they've been doing studies for years. It's gone down because where did our industry go? It went overseas.
Yeah.
So we don't necessarily have all the manufacturing that we used to have.
Oh, that's an interesting point. I don't know if that's good or bad, right? Like, I mean, it's good for us that we don't have the tailpipe situation, but that just means other people are suffering, right? In another country.
Yep.
Holy cow.
Yeah.
You don't really think about that.
You do.
Well,
Because
I'm saying the average person probably doesn't think about
Right.
that, but somebody like you, I don't know how you sleep at night. You probably have all this stuff just churning away up here.
Well, so I've always been engaged with the environment and ecology and those things. But yeah, so I taught ecology at Portsmouth High School.
Okay.
And we talked about this because we talked about, how did we get where we are today?
Yep.
And, World War II, all the plastics, all the chemicals that came out of that, we go through that whole thing. And then we get to, the climate change situation, which starts to pick up somewhere in like the 60s or 70s. They start documenting the CO2 out.
Yeah,
over
it was
the
pretty early,
Pacific.
right?
But then you get to NAFTA, right? And there's a graph that shows the carbon dioxide, CO2 production, right? Like for the United States, and it goes down after NAFTA passes. It starts to go down for us. But along with that graph is the graph of China.
Yeah.
And what happens to it.
Yeah.
And so we had a very good discussion, which brings me to your point, that did Did we change the CO2 problem or did we just move it?
I feel like we just
Like,
moved it.
hooray, USA, we lowered our CO2. And then it's like, oh, theirs is going up. And where do we buy most of our stuff right now, right? At the time, it was the market, right?
Yeah.
Everybody was, it's like, it's got to come across the ocean on those big diesel boats. And did we just move the problem?
I would say we absolutely moved the problem. So in the early 2000s, I was in metal manufacturing. I did a lot of design work and metal printing. I was even on NBC Nightly News for
What?
this. And but one issue is because of the EPA, they outlawed smelting of metal, right?
Okay.
Like here in the
In
United
the
States.
United States.
So all of that got shipped over to China. And people would complain all the time, like, why is my end product expensive, here in the US versus over there and this and that. But we just moved it. We
Yep.
moved it from the US to China. A lot of that happens. I didn't really think about the tailpipe effect until you had told me that story. But like when I was stationed in South Korea, every year we'd have to wear masks for a few weeks because in China they have the desert, right? So the yellow sand,
Hmm.
the wind comes and blows it off of the top and it travels in the air and South Korea gets hit with
Gets
it.
hit with it.
So everybody, yellow dust season is when China's
Yep.
deserts are blowing. So this makes complete sense to me.
Yeah.
Oh,
So we've had, I mean, acid rain. We are fortunate. We do have a lovely state, and it's mostly wild. Um,
I love being here.
but
You've
and
been
that,
here your whole life, right?
yes, yes.
So born and raised, no sandbagging from you.
No, no sandbagging. And not that there's anything wrong with people coming into our state.
Yeah.
We're a gracious state. We want to welcome them. Um, but it is interesting that as the state legislature has evolved, and you asked me where do you think this
Yeah.
assault on education is coming from. Part of me makes me wonder, you know do these people understand what it means to base local control on and local priorities on local taxes? Because they almost seem to me like they think, well, we're just going to change these rules and everyone will be okay because the funding will come from something we don't have, right? So we don't have a state tax, income
Yeah.
tax. We don't have a sales tax, and I'm not for those. I like the New Hampshire way. But part of me makes me wonder, do you understand how New Hampshire was built? Because we were built this way, right? We were built with local control, live free or die. We were built to sustain that, right? Everything is built around that one premise almost,
Yeah.
nestled in the center. And people love their towns. You've been to town meeting.
Oh,
People love
absolutely.
getting to that mic. I got to tell you about I don't want this or I want this or I want to know that. And that whole town democracy thing is hugely important. But when you start saying, I'm going to take your kids or I'm going to attract your kids out of this district, and by the way, you're going to foot the bill and we're going to take your hard earned tax dollars, and bring them over to great program. I'm not dissing anybody's programs, but it's
Yeah.
like we're going to bait them over. I'll use Dover because they have amazing tech CTE center.
Yeah.
Our
My daughter goes over there.
we
They're
we
fantastic.
surveyed our kids what would they like for classes, and the top two things that came up: animal science, which Dover offers, and some kind of building trades. Um, that's what they want.
Yeah.
Now we are building a plane in Farmington, which is pretty cool.
Like a flying plane?
Yeah,
Really?
we are. It's really cool. We're
Like
working with the,
the school's doing it?
yeah, we're working the high school. We're working with the museum, New Hampshire Museum of Aviation.
That's awesome.
Jeff Rapsis, awesome guy, and Tango Flight, which is out of Texas. And we have about 15 local mentors. And when I talk about like people love their local schools, we said we need mentors to help the kids build the plane. You wouldn't believe how many showed up, and they show up every Wednesday. They come in, they work with the kids. They're building this plane. I've been in there just recently. The wings are the body's looking good. Like,
What an opportunity.
yeah.
I went to a high school in Connecticut that had its own runway. They actually taught avionics, they taught aircraft maintenance.
Oh, that's cool.
It even had its
Where
own
was it again?
Danielson, Connecticut.
Ah,
It's Ellis Tech. And we had all those trades.
you should come up and see our plane build room.
I mean, I would love
We
to.
we did present to the New Hampshire Board of Education.
Wow.
Yep. So that was fun. But anyway, so the whole local thing
Yeah.
is really, really important. So
When your schools can offer those kind of things, right, to our next generation, it's game changing.
Yep.
It gets them excited. We get those excited brains into the workforce
Oh.
that create, and that's what bothers me. Can I give you a conspiracy theory maybe of why I think they do this? Two things. It's one of two things in my head, at least. The obvious one is it's just a grift. They're just moving our money to their rich friends and corporations. And it's just as simple as that. Maybe there's nothing beyond that. It's just we just need to move money from our pockets to their pockets. But I think
Fair.
the other one that I'm wondering is if what they're doing is pushing the school costs downshifting it to our towns, because when we vote on the school budget and everything, it's all done with the town. You vote for your select board, you vote for your school
Yep.
board, you vote for your warrant articles, right? And I've noticed something in the last few years here in the Barrington Facebook page. People will say, oh, it's all the Democrats moving up from Massachusetts and everywhere else, the mass holes, all of that nonsense. And what I feel like is the school budget isn't being scrutinized from the town. It's the warrant articles. So what they do is, like our town, 73% of the budget is the school budget.
Right.
But then all the articles, the warrant articles, will be voted on, and most of them will get approved. Essentially, right? There's only a couple that don't get approved.
Yeah, if that.
So then all the Republicans go onto the Facebook pages and say, "Oh, you libs, you plants, you massholes, you move here and you're massing this place up. You're approving all these warrant articles. You just say no." But what they're doing is they're confusing the other people by saying it's the warrant articles that are driving up cost and not the school budget driving up the cost. So you get the cycle of I hate outsiders. Maybe these blue towns will start voting red because they don't want any of these warrant articles. You see what I'm saying? Like, they're kind of blending the two budgets together and downshifting the larger one to the town to make it look like out-of-staters and blue voters are wanting everything. This is just a conspiracy theory. I just wanted to drop it out there.
Hey,
right?
Game theory is real.
I'm hoping that the first one is more it, and they're not like trying to play games with us. But it's hard not to think that, right?
I was going to give them that they didn't understand. They don't understand how New Hampshire works.
Really?
That's where I'm at.
Okay, I can respect that. We'll leave it as the third.
Yeah, because look at that. I love Massachusetts. I'm not going to lie.
I'm from Connecticut. I love New England.
Yep.
Our states are so small.
She's great. She runs her state very, 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 very well. They're top in education. They're top in this. They're top in that. No complaints.
Yeah.
What I think is they don't, what I meant to say when I said new people come in is they want a leadership role. They like what they see in New Hampshire. They want to be part of it.
Sure.
But they don't understand the true core of what New Hampshire was built on. That's we don't run like any other state, right? We don't. We just don't.
No. And our structure is so different,
and so then they try like, oh well, this state does open enrollment and they're okay. This state does charter schools and they're okay. But sir, ma'am, have you looked at how we do things here? Right? So it's just really tricky.
Well, and my conspiracy
maybe they
theory,
are trying to downshift to their.
I think it's the legislators, not like the people in the towns.
I think it's the legislators,
right?
too.
They're deploying these ideas to try to make our towns red, in my opinion.
Interesting.
You know, and that's probably just outside the skirt. But I wanted to say, you know, the skirt of town. You know,
Okay.
it's a crazy thought, but
Who knows? You could be right.
because why else would you hurt our kids, right? Why would you give them less of an information?
I just shake my head. I'm like, why do they hate us?
Yeah.
Why? Why? What did we do to them? We did nothing. We educated them probably, or somebody in this state, right? Like,
How much trouble do you think we are, education wise, as a state? None, a little bit, or is this going to be
it's
like a huge cleanup for the next 50 years?
we've got to figure out Claremont.
Yeah,
We have got to figure out this equitable education.
it's going to kill
Um,
us. Well, not literally,
if
but
they overturn it,
yeah,
everything goes back to the towns. And it's just a lot for us to do. It is a lot. It's a lot of burden for the taxpayers to foot.
when you, I don't know what your plans are for campaigning or anything, but I imagine when you start talking to people, number one is going to be somewhere between my property taxes and my kids' school. And I think that is going to be a big deal this year, along with other things. But here in New Hampshire, because of like the Claremont and everything else.
Well, in right now, what do we get? Like $4,200 adequacy.
Yeah, it's
They already said that was not right.
right.
I
And they
think
said it multiple times.
yeah, and so that we don't get anything from our state to help us, right?
Yeah.
And then we have the EFAs drawing off. I don't know what the last total was. That's what I
51.6
think
million
it was.
for
51.
last year.
Yeah. Okay.
That's a crazy number.
And then we cut the dividends tax.
Yeah.
Which was also about 50 million. So, they want to put it back on the towns.
The dividend tax was 156 million
Okay.
loss.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
And we're really scrounging. Poor University of New Hampshire. There was a bill on the table just recently where they were trying to get some money back for UNH. I went to a meeting with students back in maybe October, and they weren't even asked about how the cuts were impacting them. They were having another conversation. And it was like, well, our advisor was let go, and like this and that and the other thing. And finally, I just, raised my hand and I said, so can you tell me a little more about what these cuts are doing in your real live feed, your daily feed? How is that impacting you? And it was astounding that the cuts they were making, how they were impacting, a course wasn't offered, a course that the student needed that was supposed to be offered so they could graduate. Set a kid back a whole year, right? Yeah. So the real feed, if you will, on these is when they cut things from, our revenue, if you will, is who's going to pick it up? Who's going to pick it up? And there's only so much money people can give.
Yeah, in today's world, probably nobody, right?
And so it's not sustainable. We got to figure out: are we going to go after a model like Massachusetts, I guess, or whatever other states are using sales tax and income tax to fund stuff?
Yeah.
Or are we going to try and sustain the model we had? And by the way, state, you have to provide more adequacy. You just got to. We're very fortunate, even though I know when I think about where Farmington compared to Portsmouth, we do get a lot of federal aid. Now, that's dependent on Trump, and there has been talk that the Department of Ed is going to cut Title II and Title IV, and combined, we get about $140,000 from those two funds. Title II is all for teacher education, professional support, like learning things, and for your staff.
Yeah.
And then Title IV is about STEAM education, student well-being, some technology. It's a really unique little grant. So we are fortunate that we do get that influx of federal funds.
Yeah.
Without it, we
dollar.
couldn't survive.
Yeah.
We couldn't survive without that because the adequacy is so small.
Right.
And we just can't tax the people. We don't have the real estate values. Like,
every dollar matters when
Right.
it comes to education. We get you over to Concord, you win your election, your whole thing's probably gonna be education, right? I mean,
There's a
ever
lot of
since I've met
focus there.
you,
I mean, I do love the environment. You know that. I already
oh no,
talked
no,
about that.
absolutely. But
Um,
but as an educator, as
I
somebody that's
think that's what
so
we have to fight for.
passionate,
We have no choice, and we really do need to step it up and fight. And it's a tricky scenario. So, for example, they want to take I think there's like 109 school districts with superintendents or something like that, and they want to downsize them to 12 superintendents, and they will be elected.
that is substantial.
Yep. So it's one per county, and then there'll be two in Manchester and two in Nashua, something like that.
Okay.
But they're elected. And
Is our
that's
current ones not elected right now?
no, you're hired. Your school board hires them,
Okay.
your superintendents.
Yeah, I guess I've never
But
voted on
you
them.
know what you have to do to be a superintendent? Like you can't just be somebody who just walks off the side of the road and has a pretty sign. It, you have to. Most of us have our PhD or our EDD or
Yeah, you
some
want your superintendent
qualifications.
to have that
They have
experience.
worked in the field. They
Yeah.
have worked in the classroom for considerable amount of time. They have probably served as assistant principal, curriculum director like myself. Some of them have some business accounting backgrounds, but most of the time it's that work your way up. You work your way up, you know so much, right? You know all the nuances of a school system, how to handle your staff, how to handle emergencies, the training that
Oh
superintendents
my
have to go
gosh.
through for emergency, Alice training, all the different things. Uh,
And we would lose all of that
well, you got an
potentially.
elected person. Like, who's to say? Like,
I could run for it.
sure.
I have no background. Like I've never worked in a
And
public
so
school.
it's like, you don't understand the system that your kids and your families have been nestled in, like how we get kids to where they are. It's not an easy job, and superintendents are a thankless job in the sense that they work all the time. They got to be up for the snow days. They got to be up at 4 a.m. talking to the police. How are the roads? If there's an emergency, if the gas line blows, if it's not an easy job at all.
You know,
And they're
Oklahoma.
expected to be at every board meeting and
Yeah.
and budget meeting and hearings, right? And then there's also they get called in for expulsions or special ed out of district placements. It's a huge job.
Yeah, Oklahoma had that Walters guy that was basically tearing down Oklahoma's school system, right? He's trying to put the Ten Commandments in the classroom, a Bible in every classroom, and then he finally resigned because there was like some scandal coming. We don't have that problem in New Hampshire, do we?
No,
While we're talking about
they're
superintendents,
very educated.
I don't know them all, so I just want to make sure that like there's not like if there's 109
I've met a
superintendents,
lot of them
yeah,
because we have an organization where we do local, professional development in Concord, but we also meet as a Southeaster group.
oh good,
And so that includes most of the towns in Stratford County, in Portsmouth, Exeter, Raymond, Hampton. Um,
okay, it's good to know as somebody that doesn't have any experience here
so we
that that's
meet and
happening.
we bring in guests and we discuss topics. And so everyone is top notch.
Oh yeah,
I have never met anyone who worked their way into that position. It's hard to get there.
yeah.
And,
I
and
guess Walters was their state Department of Education secretary or whatever. So
okay.
I'm misconstruing the two, but still,
Well,
these
that's
these are
important too.
these are overarching positions
Yeah.
that are driving the force,
You
and
got to be
so
really well qualified.
yeah,
And you can't just pull up to the curb and be like, put your tap, 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 put my sign in, elect Kim McGlinchey for superintendent of Stratford County. I
yeah.
mean,
Well, I'd
right,
vote for somebody like
right.
you,
But
but
I
I
mean,
wouldn't vote
like
for somebody like
Joe,
me.
anybody,
Yeah,
even if they think they have their heart in it, there's so many big ticket items.
you know,
Um,
having your heart into something and having the passion for it is, you're right. It's not enough. You have to have real world experience.
you do.
You have to understand how mechanisms work.
If you want to be successful, right?
Yes. Yeah. I guess you
Um,
could be terrible at your job.
Well, yeah, and then just people will complain, like,
Yeah.
why are they
Wait,
even in this?
is
They worked at Burger King before this. No.
is it easy for us to get rid of our superintendents if they were performing badly? If we hire them, we can fire them, right?
So the school board's in charge of. So The superintendent is in charge of hiring and firing all personnel, but the school board is in charge of evaluating the superintendents.
Okay.
So they typically will have a yearly eval,
Okay. So there is
and they
somebody
will
that's
100%.
got you.
If the school board's not happy with the superintendent,
Yeah.
they need to work as a team.
Absolutely.
They need to trust each other. They need to have common shared values. They have to, be able to listen to each other. So that relationship needs to be strong. And if it's not, it might not be that the person's a terrible superintendent. It might just be that the failure is they can't communicate well.
Okay.
And I've seen that happen.
Yeah.
Right. COVID was a time when there was much strife in the communities, between what the superintendent could do legally by law and what maybe a board wanted them to do. And so there was a lot of stress and discussion during that time. But typically, your superintendents are very well vetted. They'll be through a committee. I don't know, sometimes there's 15, 16 people on a committee hiring. They'll be open. Usually they have some kind of library events or something where people can go and talk to the superintendent and be, or the one that's applying, and ask him questions or her questions about what their goals are and things like that. I mean, oh, and I didn't even mention they're also the top one when it comes to like athletics, because yes, as an athletic director, but they're overseen by the superintendent. And so if there's
That's a big
problems
job.
with athletics, and I know kids have gotten in trouble for drinking at parties and things like that, and then the superintendent in the long run has to make a decision sometimes as to what happens. Do they get to play? Do they not? And that makes the town upset sometimes too, because they want to win the
Right?
championship.
They want to bring.
So it's not the kind of job, and that is on the books. I think it's been sent to a committee right now. So I don't know
Okay,
where
because
it will
my
go.
next question is, how much do we be sweating this?
It moved around, so I'm not sure exact. I know that it is being reviewed or something like that. Like it's not going to be voted on right now.
Okay.
Um,
Do you read legislation? You're not a rep or anything. I don't expect you to. Just to make sure.
Well, I'm on the policy committee for the New Hampshire Superintendents Association, so I do.
Okay.
I pick through it. They send a bulletin. They're very organized, and they'll send out. Mark McLean is in charge of it, and he sends out, here's what's going on. Here's the ones we think you should pay attention to. Let's follow these, and we meet once a week on Zoom, the committee. So I do pay attention to it,
Yeah.
and I've, the open enrollment. We really rallied people. We were like, you have got to speak up. This is not something we just rush into. And because originally the way it was written was you could put it on your warrant article, whether you would allow students in, and if you were going to allow students out, how much money would you put in your budget line item for those kids to leave?
Yeah.
And what happened was a couple districts said, well, we're just going to put zero. We're not going to put any money in to let these kids leave, right? Thinking, and then the legislature came back at them and said, oh, you can't, we're going to pass a bill where you can't say that. And it didn't get through. It got stopped.
Good.
So,
that's something that's refreshing. At least the last couple of years, I've really been paying attention. People going up and testifying and really being vocal about, a lot of bad stuff.
People were really upset. Even like the schools that would attract, like Exeter was like, we can't just have all these kids coming in. Like, and Farmington, we're like, we can't have all these kids leaving, right?
Yeah.
And they also had like, we had a lot of meetings about it, and they were like, well, we don't think it's right to take other people's tax dollars either. Like they had some ethics, right? That they're like, it doesn't ring true for us to be, recruiting kids, whether it's, and it's not supposed to be for sports. There's supposed to be an academic component to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
but,
sports and schools.
Rumors in here for basketball.
Yeah.
Whatever, right. So, yeah. So that I did pay attention to that, of course. This whole consolidation of school districts is another big topic. A bunch of stuff that just came through, like I said, that UNH bill that I think was defeated. I think that's sad. I think we should have sent more money back to our Wildcats. They deserve it. We have we have a really, really, really good university in this state.
I brag
Um,
about it every time it
yeah,
comes up, and it's only 12 minutes from here.
it's amazing.
Um, my kids are Wildcats,
Yeah.
and I have a couple that will be Wildcats. It is an incredible university. For
It's
anybody
lovely.
that doesn't live around here, but you watch this, it is a sprawling, gorgeous, typical New Englandish, like, oh, I love fall on the campus. You know,
Yeah.
that's the image in my head. The trees just gently letting the leaves go. It's just such a gorgeous place.
Yep.
And it should
Three
be our crown
degrees, three
jewel.
degrees from UNH.
And that's something to be
Yeah.
proud of, right? UNH
So
is a great university.
yeah, and they are they're like top in the research
Yes.
in certain areas. Um, they get NASA grants. Like they've got a lot going on.
I love having that in my backyard. I love what it brings to New Hampshire, but it always saddens me when they're cutting the budget. And
Well,
UNH just gets a lot of bad, not bad press, but like I feel like the legislature really
they need to.
dislikes our education. Like at the end of the
Yes.
day, they're not interested in educating anybody here in New Hampshire. But I want us to be a global powerhouse here
Yeah.
in New Hampshire. We have such a beautiful place. We have people that want to work hard. We have people that want the education. We should be producing some really cool stuff. Instead, people are living minimum wage
Well,
jobs. I mean,
and it
minimum
makes
wage
me
50.
nervous. So when they are doing these cuts,
Yeah.
what I've noticed on my LinkedIn is adjunct, 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 all these job openings for adjunct at UNH.
Ugh.
So what that tells you is the tenured professors, the ones that are the real research scientists, full professor, associate professor, whatever,
Yeah.
they're filling those blanks up
The brain
with
drain.
adjuncts.
The
And not that there's anything wrong with adjuncts.
No, but it's different.
It's 100%. Imagine going to your college experience where you could
I couldn't.
saddle up to office hours. And I got to know Dr. Freilich so well up at Plymouth State. I worked for him. I was his lab assistant. We hung out. I babysat his kid. Like all those mentory
Yeah.
relationships, and those are so important for first generation college, right?
I had
Um,
awesome professors. I mean, so I definitely get what you're saying.
and you don't get that with an adjunct. They're typically online,
Yeah.
right? And they're going to have office hours, but they're not like I can go into this dusty old professor's office with books everywhere and
There's no
see the
replacement for
real
that.
deal.
Yeah.
Oh, it's cool, right? It's an experience.
Yeah.
And it helps you value your education a little bit more. You're not just getting educated so that you can get a job, right? It's not that kind of thing. It's like the experience of being in academia and being, with someone who has done research, in the Azores or wherever, right?
Yeah.
And you get to go on those trips, maybe, right? Professors take kids on trips all the time for
Absolutely.
studies. And so you don't get that with an adjunct. And so that makes me nervous. But hopefully, we've overcome things before. And I'm sure we'll be, hopefully with enough presence and enough commitment, we can push back against this assault on
Yeah.
education.
I mean, we're having less just for the sake of having less. I
I
mean,
don't even know.
I mean, just in general, like
Yep.
my whole life, we were adequate. We supplied everything, and then all of a sudden, the last year for New Hampshire, the last few years, we've just decided to just cut budgets, and we've cut revenue, and we just
Yeah.
gave up. We said we don't need it, and neither do our kids. And to me, as a parent, with kids going
Yep.
through the school system, that makes me very nervous. I couldn't imagine, like, if somebody's watching this right now and they have little kids, they haven't started or they're about to start or
Right.
whatever the case is, I'd be very scared to send my kids through this. That doesn't mean that I don't mean that the education is bad, but it's not as good as it could be. And they have shot us in the foot.
Yep.
I point to Concord.
Oh,
It's
and I do think we're trying to hold it together.
yeah.
You know, we are committed
No, we
to,
have some really fantastic people in our state,
yeah,
like yourself and others,
yeah,
that
and
are trying to keep this
yeah,
thing together.
and we're trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
But it's getting tough.
How
But
many more elections like 2024 can we get through education wise before it's going to be really bad? Because we
we got
know
to get people in who care about local local dollars, local funding of schools. We've got to get people in who understand that the adequacy is not enough. $4,000. What's that?
nothing.
It's nothing,
It's
right?
nothing.
I mean,
It's literally a third of my property
I was going
taxes.
to say it's not.
Like it's nothing.
It's a
And
drop in the bucket. And then people who are not trying to shift, you know, the responsibility of educating a child away from local towns. A lot of towns, that's all they have. We have our school, and we're proud of our school, right?
I'm extremely proud.
And
Yes.
and what's going to happen when we don't have a local school anymore? And all the kids are being shipped out. Like that's what is your town then?
Yeah. Well, another part that does scare me education wise is the teachers leaving for better pay somewhere
Well,
else.
that's real, and that's been a battle in Farmington and probably a lot of other rural communities for a long time.
Yeah. For instance, during COVID, we had a wonderful assistant principal at middle school. And 3 days before, like she even helped my daughter come back to the school because she wasn't doing very well
Yeah,
online and
yep,
she just needed,
yep, hundred
I
percent.
called her direct and she was like, we got you. Like she was
Oh, that's
so
awesome.
good and so interested in making sure the kids had success. But like 2 or 3 days before the school year started, we all got informed that she left to Epping for better pay. We lost
Story's real.
we lost such that was my first interaction here in New Hampshire where I was aware that we had just lost somebody that
You
our
loved.
school will suffer. Our school,
Yep,
I'm not saying other people aren't great either that come in, but when it's over money,
yep,
you lose the brain drain, the experience, and everything else. And that scares me
yep.
because that's significant, like what you were just talking
And the
about with
kids see it,
adjunct.
The
Yes,
kids see it
they feel
when
it.
there's big turnover.
They can tell that the adults, that are making these decisions don't care about them. I've
Or that,
talked to the 17 and 18-year-olds and they can't wait to vote.
yeah. And the thing is, Epping is only 7 minutes. What I don't know, 10 minutes down the road. It's
Yeah.
really not far from
No.
Farmington.
No.
And so that's the thing.
Yeah.
We have these districts that can really, their collective bargaining agreements, whatever they are much more higher pay scales, and
And then it
it's
keeps
easy
teachers
enough to
out.
go.
Yeah.
Seacoast small enough, you can drift around, right?
You can, but also it's probably keeping some future teachers out of the game. Like I have one in this house right here, has a full math education background, doesn't want to teach because they don't pay enough. Like it's it's not worth it, to people that haven't come into it yet, right?
I
Like
guess
you've
that's
been
true.
here for almost 30
Right.
years, right? So you have all this, you have a life's
Right.
body of work that you're protecting in a way, probably, right? Your legacy, all
Right.
that. But for somebody that has graduated UNH or wherever with a degree that wants to get into the teaching field, they don't have that same
No, they haven't made those connections yet. They haven't developed, and it's hard. The first 3 years of teaching is really, really challenging. It
I
doesn't
bet.
matter what you got for an education.
Just trying to
Managing
find a
the
classroom.
Yep.
Yeah.
And there is a statistic that 50% of all teachers, doesn't matter where you are, leave within 5 years. So 50% of your new teachers will leave within 5 years.
Wow.
And go on. Yeah,
That's gotta be scary,
that's
though.
a staggering one, but it's true, and I see it. But cool fact: we actually have someone who worked at the shipyard and retired from the shipyard, has an engineering degree, and wanted to give back to a community. He's the one running the plane project,
Oh,
and yeah, he got his math teaching certificate, and he teaches math. He's up for Teacher of the Year.
wow.
And so we do have some stories like that too,
Yeah.
where people come in after they've made their money, And we would welcome anyone, if anyone's listening out there, who has done that and has a similar story. It's not, if you have the right qualifications and the right courses on your transcript and things like that,
Yeah.
New Hampshire has made it a little easier to get your teaching credential.
Yeah.
You do something called a site-based learning plan. They can do a transcript review. They'll tell you what you need to take. A lot of times, like maybe you're missing like methods of teaching math because you wouldn't have that if you're an engineer, right?
Right.
So you take that course or whatever they tell you to take, and then they give you a beginning license. And so those stories are pretty cool.
Yeah.
And I would love to see more of that. Especially, we've had some great teachers retire during COVID. They couldn't take it anymore because COVID was tough. How do we get them back into the school, even if it's just part time, to give back? And then maybe they're going to be, if you do part time, they can still do their retirement thing. And so the money doesn't become as big of a problem.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Um,
mean, I wonder, because I have no idea on what I'm about to say, but when I left the military beforehand, they have a program called Boots to Classroom,
oh,
or
cool.
Boots to, the point is to get qualified veterans,
Yeah.
right, that fit the bill, that can, to transition from the military into the classroom. I actually had some friends that have done that. I have one friend in particular. We joined the Air Force together, and he retired 30 years later. This is my 30th year from joining the military. So dating myself a little bit, but he is a 5th grade teacher now.
And
He went from leading hundreds of
that's so
people
cool.
in uniform to teaching in a classroom, and I had considered it as well. I was a master instructor in the Air Force. Only 1% of all the instructors, in the military will ever achieve master instructor. The certificate you were talking about, where people get in the classroom and you get your certificate.
Yeah.
So most states will accept my 2-year certificate from the military, so I don't have to start as a shadow program. So I was going to be an art teacher. But then I saw the way teachers are being treated, and like
There's that.
the public perception on like indoctrinating kids and stuff. And I'm just thinking to myself, I don't need to do this for the money. Not because I'm wealthy or anything, but like I'm
No, because
okay.
you did your time.
I did my time, and I don't think I want that. Like, I don't want to show up. I would love to be an art teacher for like
Well,
middle
you should
high.
come by our plain room.
I want to see that. I love education. I don't have the background you have,
'Cause you
but
might say, "Oh, I think I'll donate, I can work part-time. I can teach X, Y, and Z for a
I
block."
love doing stuff like that.
And it's not going to be lucrative, but it might be fun.
Yeah, I used to teach in the community. I used to love doing a lot of that stuff. I used to talk a lot for community colleges. Like when I was in Albuquerque, I'd go in and talk to classes and stuff like that. I was very involved. I did this for 6 years in Augusta, Georgia. At the time, it was called Fort Gordon. Now it's Fort Eisenhower. And I taught communications and electronics and stuff like that. So anyway, that's why I'm so passionate about this too, because I have seen with my own eyes what it's like to change a young person's mind with education, right?
Oh, yeah.
To get them where they knew nothing to where they're doing something substantial. And that's exciting.
It's exciting, and that brings me to another point. So let's go back to, you were asking what's
Sure.
the difference in quality, and I said, you can't offer as many things.
Yeah.
This plane build has been, such a success for about 11 kids. They had to apply to do it, juniors and seniors.
Yeah.
That opportunity is fully grant funded. And New Hampshire Charitable Gaming, we also get some money from them.
Charitable
the
gaming, like the
Lilac Casino.
casinos and stuff. Yeah.
We get a lot of money from them.
Okay. I'll hate him a little bit less.
But like that idea of what do your kids want and how do we offer it?
Yeah.
And the doors that's opening. One of the students who spoke at the State Board of Ed, he talked about how, without the little seed planted in his head that he could actually go to aviation school, that he could actually get his pilot's license. These things that the doors were opening left and right.
Yeah.
So if when you have those experiences, it helps the kid who didn't know what they wanted to do. Right.
Yeah.
And then you have some who knew what they wanted to do.
Mhm.
Right. So, if the different programs you can offer in a wealthier community, architecture. Dover has the hair salon and the cosmetology, right? I mean, we could go on and on. Um, and not being able to offer those is something that does stifle kids' adventureness or trying things and finding their right college and career ready path, if you will.
Yeah.
Um, and that's too bad because we did, like I said, we ran the survey and then we said, well, what do we do?
Yeah.
We have these things we know our kids want, and how do we open those doors for them?
Kids are just looking for opportunities, right?
So another thing that we've been working on pretty hard because of that is, and actually kudos to the state of New Hampshire for this one. So the rules that govern minimum standards for schools is called the 306 rules.
Okay.
Okay. But they rewrote them. There's a lot of interesting things that went on in the rewriting. It was a busy project because the class of 2030 has totally different, well, not totally, big differences in what they have to have on their diploma in 2030.
Yep.
So that'll be the freshmen coming in. But one of the things that New Hampshire is really pushing, which I 100% agree with for small rural districts, is these expanded learning opportunities. And so what they are you help kids get into learning experiences that are outside of the classroom, that they can learn something. So I'll give you an example. So the New Hampshire Timberland Association, I think that NHT, it's New Hampshire Timberland something.
Close enough.
I somehow across my feed came this opportunity for high school students to get certified in forestry. And the certification they would get allows them to work under a state forester, or if they decided, I actually want to get a degree in forestry, it's part of the degree program, so they would already have it. Oh. So we have 2 kids enrolled in that.
Okay.
And they're getting high school credit at the same time as they're out in the field. They went on, oh my gosh, they did so much. And so finding those opportunities for kids where they can get high school credit, even though we can't have those things in-house, kids can go to them, or we can get kids to them. We also there's a bird watching one our kids are doing, bird identification. But there's plenty of others. Kids work in hospitals. They do healthcare. They might, I know someone who did a real estate. Yeah. And they worked on their real estate license.
So they're getting real world experience.
They are.
While they're in high school.
Really pushing those. Yep. And they want to expand them to 7th and 8th grade too. So they would do a project or an extended learning opportunity and perhaps get like an elective even before they got to high school.
Yeah.
So that is one thing that we're really trying to develop and push forward. A lot of schools are doing it, but specifically because of the fact that we can't offer all the things, all the whistles and bells, we can find programming that kids can do. Dual enrollment is something also that's really being picked up. Our online school called VLAX, Virtual Learning Academy, they are now teamed up with Southern New Hampshire University, UNH, and the Community College System of New Hampshire. And so they're making it really easy for kids to get some of those college credits at the same time they're getting their high school credits. They're doing both. Yeah. And those will transfer to some of our colleges. So it's really, there are some good things out there. You just need the people in the position to push them along and get them into the kids' and parents' hands.
Yeah. New Hampshire does education so different. When I went to high school, I don't want this to be all about my history, but just for an example, like the high school I was talking about earlier, that had a runway, that had like aircraft maintenance, avionics.
That's so cool.
We had, I think, 22 trades in under one roof.
Wow.
Now, if you were a high school student, you couldn't be in aircraft mechanics or avionics. That was a post grad. So in Connecticut, we have 13 state-run trade schools.
Okay.
So I went to one of them, and how it worked when I was
there all day.
Yes.
Okay.
So every 3 weeks you switch. I think it's different now, but when I was in school, 3 weeks you were in academics. So you were on one side of the building with your English teacher, your science teacher, and everything else. And then for the next 3 weeks, you would only be in trade.
Oh, that's cool.
So now I was a licensed hairdresser coming out of high school. And so when you're talking about kids working outside, so once you have your license for hairdressing, for example, I got mine spring of 95, my junior year. And then so after I got my license, during those 3 weeks of class, unless there was something I had to be there for, I went and worked in a salon.
Oh, that's so cool.
And so I would get 8 hours a day in the salon, cutting real people's hair, doing perms, all of that. And then I would get my high school trade, credentials covered. And it was a fascinating way. And we don't do that here in New Hampshire. The kids get bussed in for a couple hours in the trade, and then but they don't switch back and forth.
No.
They're not like, but the cosmetology department in Dover, those students are graduating with their licenses. So
I think they are.
yeah, and so they're not losing out, and that's not what my point is here.
No,
But
but it's an interesting way to do it where you really develop that 3 week intensive on something.
very intensive every
Just the
Tuesday.
Magic, we had to redo our schedule so that they had that plane build every day,
Yeah, yeah,
which is and they're getting 2 credits for it.
which is
And
awesome.
yeah, and there was some pushback on that, right? People are like, "Well, I don't know how that's going to work." I'm like, "We can make it work. Let's just make it work."
Yeah,
People have to be open to that. There are times when they get stuck in the traditional, and that that transporting to the CTE is
It-
a big problem. So
yeah. I mean, you
I
still
worked at
have to take
Marshwood
time and go.
in Maine
Yeah,
for a little bit, and I was in charge of the CTE getting the buses where they needed to go and making sure the kids didn't miss their academic time.
yeah,
It was literally an impossible schedule because they're a half hour on the road. And the same thing, Farmington, we go up to Kingswood.
yeah.
Um, and so they have to get pulled out of like maybe one of their core classes and head up to Kingswood and do their CTE program.
It feels disruptive.
Well, it's hard, and it's hard to make it work because I know kids were like, well, I can't take AP blank because if I take that, I'll miss half the class, and that's a really hard class, and I definitely want to keep my CTE courses. So we're forcing kids to make some decisions. Whereas with the expanded learning opportunities and the other dual enrollment, they can do some of that on their own time. So they don't have to miss a rigorous course because they want to go to CTE.
Right.
So that is something that was really there was a couple things when they redid the 306s. At first glance, it was a lot of work, but at second glance, there was some good improvements in there that really helped high schools in small towns
Yeah.
respond. And so I will give a shout out for that.
Well, I'm also very thankful that New Hampshire has a trade program,
Oh
like to
yeah,
begin with, because there's a lot of states that don't have high school trade programs.
I thought that was part of the Perkins. No,
Maybe, but like when I lived in North Carolina, Georgia, and Albuquerque, they had some trade schools, but it's their trades. I guess what I'm getting at is their trade schools aren't like the trade schools in New England.
oh that's cool.
We have something very special, like, I mean, you can go learn trades. I don't want to think that you can't. Clearly, every
No,
state has something, but it's not like what we have here in
yep,
New England. And so I think it's special. I want to get people in that are going to make education like a priority for the state.
yeah.
I am so tired of hearing people like not making living wages in this state. And the only thing you ever hear when you talk to the average person is, we just need more trades. We just need more trades. Do we? Because I'd also like to like do other things than just trades. Like, not everybody wants to grow up to be an HVAC, guy,
No,
or a hairdresser, or a
right,
plumber, or whatever it is. Some people want to achieve much more,
right.
like, hey, it would be cool to have some rocket science around here. It'd
Oh,
be
for
cool to
goodness
have,
sakes, right?
some really like high-end tech stuff. I mean, I know our electricity is expensive and all
Arts,
that, but like
music. I mean,
all
all
of
of
it.
it is so important to who we are as a state
Yeah.
as well. And again, when you cut budgets, sometimes you cut arts, sometimes you cut music, right?
And it's
Sometimes you
really
cut
hard to get back,
right.
I mean, the person that would have gone to UNH after high school here in New Hampshire, maybe they've left for the military because they couldn't afford, whatever at UNH, or the opportunity wasn't there.
Yeah.
I'm just afraid of, like, I don't want our kids leaving. I love having my kids close, and I'd imagine other parents here in New Hampshire do too. So the more we educate them here, and we expand industry, and we keep our loved ones
Yep.
near us,
We have to do that.
we all benefit from that.
Because right now, I mean, I haven't looked at the demographics, but we are attracting a lot of retired people.
A lot.
Some magazine a long time ago, well, it wasn't that long ago, it's probably 7 years ago, like ranked New Hampshire as the top retirement state.
Yep.
Everybody read it.
Yep.
And, and you look at our seacoast communities, and we're just building and building and building and building. And it's like, is it ever going to end? And who's filling those buildings? Because school enrollments, after we had the baby boomer echo generation.
Yeah.
So that echo was pretty big. That's when my kids were in school. And I think it ended around the class of 2012 or somewhere in there. And so enrollments are going down. I mean, they're going to come back up because those baby boomer echo people are now having children.
Right.
But who are moving into these towns because, number one, they probably can't afford to live in some of these condos. I think the median house price in Portsmouth just surpassed $1 million. The median price.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And so, who's moved, and there's so much for people to do in Portsmouth. I mean, it's a great place to retire. Like any of these places,
is beautiful.
Any of them. And so, who's moving in, and this, we just keep building and building, but the working class or whoever, what are they going to do? They can't afford that.
Yeah.
So what do? We put in workforce housing, but the contractor can't afford the workforce housing because he's got to make some money when he's building. He can't sell them all for undervalue, right?
Well, who's going to be excited to buy in or rent workforce housing when the next step is not, like, even if you have an apartment,
that's
right?
True. Yeah.
Like, are you going to be excited to live in workforce housing in Portsmouth and then still know that you can't afford a house?
Right.
Because you're not going to make
stuck
enough
there.
money. You know what I mean? So
and when you sell it, I don't think you get to keep the profit.
No, God, no. You're going to pay, what, 3% to a real
that,
estate agent. You're going to pay the
It's
taxes.
just housing. It's just shelter.
Yeah, like everybody thinks like, oh, my house is doubled. I'm going to make a killing off of this, until you got to figure out where you're going to go next. And then you pay all your taxes, pay all the fees.
Oh my gosh.
Like it's
down to nothing.
Yeah. Like, what are you going to
You
walk?
owe money.
You're going to walk away with what, 10 grand check? What's that going to do for you?
Nothing.
Like it's short-sighted. There's so much we need to do for our communities here to get to the idea. Now, I made a joke earlier about the sandbag, that you've been here your whole life because in politics we have so many people that come from out of state
to here
just to run.
Well, and that was my point originally, and it is nothing against
I'm a transplant, just to say that up front. I've lived here for 8 years.
Against anyone from anywhere.
Neither do I.
As a matter of fact, I love diversity, right?
Yes.
But I think we need an education course. Okay, this is New Hampshire. This is how it's run. Don't try to change it because it's got its own momentum and it's been going for a while, guys. And we're happy with that, right?
Yeah.
So that's the piece, is when people move in and they're like, okay, I'm going to bring my highfalutin ideas and change this whole system, but the system doesn't work that way. So it's just messing it up.
Do we do it well?
Not messing it up. We're messing it up. We're just messing it up.
Do we do education well in New Hampshire?
I think we do.
Yeah.
I think we do, but it's because we have really dedicated people, right? In the trenches, doing the work every day.
I agree.
All the way from like facilities, like paraprofessionals, the amount of love and care and intent they give every day is outstanding. And I don't think you'd find anyone who would say, yeah, we got a bunch of lazy schools, because it's not true. So therefore, we're able to say we are top ranked school. We dropped a little bit. I mean, state in education, we did drop a little bit, but we're still up there in the top 10.
Okay.
And that's because of the people power.
That
right?
drop, though, it's not going to continue down, right?
Well,
We're getting back up, hopefully.
If we can keep high qualified staff, and we can keep the momentum going and, make people feel valued in what they do. Um, there's nothing more exciting than being with a group of teachers and working with them and the ideas, and they'll email you out. We have these things called professional learning communities, and so I meet with them often because that's my job. And so we look at data, and we discuss data, and we discuss goals, and they create how they're going to work on a certain goal. They want to get this math score up or whatever they're working on, right?
Yeah.
And then ideas just flow out of that, and like, why don't we do this march to math thing? And actually, we could do march to literacy. And then they'll email you. This is a great PLC. I have so many ideas. And so that's the juice, that's the flow, that's the moment when your educators are like excited,
Yeah.
and they've got the spark. And that's what you can't lose, because people go into teaching, a lot of times they're very creative people. They envision themselves with lesson plans and, the little groups working on projects. And you envision that when you're going into teaching. And we don't want to pound too much on their shoulders and their head so that dream, that vision goes away.
Yeah.
You got to keep that spark going. And, part of that is my job to invigorate and provide resources through the grant writing. About a third of my job is grant writing. And so making sure that if my teacher comes to me and says, I want to do Seussical, I can find a place. If the principal comes to me and says, we have no stoves in culinary, they caught on fire, which is real.
Yeah.
I'll go find you 5 stoves. Oh, and I'll find you a dishwasher and a whole bunch of other things too, right?
Yeah.
So, we have to keep that going. So New Hampshire schools, from my perspective, the juice comes from below. It comes from the people that are running the ship, really,
Yeah.
which is the teachers. They are the ones that are with the students. They are the ones that bring in ideas. I can start them on a course and give them a little push. We're going to do project-based learning,
Yeah.
but then they'll come up with their own projects, right? So you need that. You need that commitment. And yes, money's important, and it does get in the way. But at the end of the day, if you can keep your staff happy, excited, feeling like they're making a difference,
Yeah.
that they have their own latitude to make decisions,
Which is
they
important.
don't feel like it's, my teachers might complain that the math program is very scripted, but I've given them license. I've said it is. But you have the experience. You guys have been teaching. We have a couple of teachers been there a long time. You guys have been teaching for 25 years. You know what's good.
Yeah.
You know how to get them to point A. Yes, we have to use the purchased curriculum, but that doesn't preclude you using your own professional aptitude to get that done. And that's the license you want to give your teachers.
Which is important. They need to feel a little bit of.
Who wants to go, so I worked at Newick's for 30 years.
Wow.
Yeah. Well,
Okay.
I think I made my 30th anniversary. It might have just been 29. I might not have made it. And it was the best place to work. So you could do it while you were teaching. It wasn't corporate. It was Jack Newick, salt of the earth. Can't say enough about that man. And he was great to work for.
Yeah.
Place was crazy sometimes, but it was a great place to work because it was. You weren't like scripted on what you had to do ever.
Yeah.
Ever. Everyone had their own way of waiting on tables, and whatever it was.
Yeah.
And so that experience, right? You compare that to, say, you're working for an Applebee's and they have these whatever. I don't even know. I've never worked for Applebee's, but I envision that it's very scripted. You have do this, whatever.
Yeah. I had a job literally. We had to read line by line to fix stuff, right?
Okay.
No variation, no experience can take you elsewhere if you don't follow this one script.
Okay, this is what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And so giving teachers that ability
Mm-hmm.
to have some freedom,
Right.
I think is hugely important.
Right. Because they can reach kids in other ways.
Yeah. And they can have fun. I sent 5 of the kindergarten and preschool teachers to Harvard for to learn Reggio.
Okay.
Because we weren't doing enough play-based learning.
That's important when they're young.
And so they went to Project Zero, which
Yep.
is super cool for a whole week. They came home so excited. And they're switching over to play based. And it, they they have a lot of license. I meet with them periodically and try to help them. But they've started their own fundraisers to get what they want for their Reggio rooms. They are trying new things. They're pumped up about the Reggio, and so it's that kind of thing where it's not a script.
Yeah.
And so you've got to allow your people to have some freedom.
No, absolutely.
And so I think we do have a lot of that in New Hampshire from the leadership I've seen. That was one thing I loved about working in Portsmouth is they really let you do initiatives and they supported you.
Yeah.
So if you said, "Oh, I really want to do X, Y, and Z," and we started a garden program, right? I told you I taught Grow It Green, which was a gardening class. But putting in the raised beds, the farm to school program, 100% supported by administration. And the ability to say they weren't out there on the lawn looking over how we were putting in the raised beds. Now I had a master gardener and I had some great people
Sure.
come in to put those in. I didn't do it on my own, but the shop class was down there or whatever they had, building trades helping us put them in. I've got pictures of that. Everybody was a community event, and very much an opportunity for freedom to put something new in your school, right?
Which is always exciting.
And so just the idea that there's a license in there. And so I think I learned that was really important.
Yeah.
My
Flexibility
experience
is
at a couple other schools that I tried out didn't work out because it was way too much oversight and nitpickiness on teachers. And I
yeah.
just didn't agree with it. That's not the way I lead.
Yeah, I don't like micromanaging as well. It's not an enjoyable experience.
I do think that, leadership makes a difference, and our schools are very very competitive when it comes to a lot of things. We get students go, I wish I had a list of all the universities that, you get them for your school where they go. But our schools put out kids that go to the top-notch universities in this country.
Makes me feel good.
Dartmouth, Harvard, Stanford, Yale,
Yeah.
a lot of Yales. Just all really like top-notch. And they wouldn't be able to do that if they didn't have an education that was top-notch. Yeah. Because those schools are not. They're going to accept other states, right? They're going to accept.
No, absolutely. They can go elsewhere for that.
But it would be interesting to get that list, and I'm sure somewhere they have it.
Yeah, I bet.
Another thing New Hampshire is strong on is their college and career readiness. Every student is supposed to have 2 indicators of college and career readiness.
Oh.
Yeah. So, and one of those can be a CTE course.
Okay.
Or enrolled in a CTE program that comes with a certificate. But otherwise, there's lots of things on that list that they encourage kids to do.
That's
so that push, and you have to document it. You have to turn it into the state, and they give you a ranking.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Just like that all that's being done. Like,
the data that we have as a state
yeah.
is really cool. It's all under these like iAchieve, iPlatforms. You can find out anything you want about, math scores, science scores, college and career readiness, free and reduced rate values, and you can compare schools, and there's a gazillion things you can do on these data platforms. I actually just started a data team.
Really?
So yeah, I like data. And so the group, I had a group last year. We did a program called Data Wise, which you learn how to look at data and how to like bring it back to your classroom. And out of that we were supposed to form at each school level a leader in that would be part of a data team, and their job would be to work on the data in a team, but bring it back to their PLCs, that professional learning community. And so we're just starting that now. But there's a lot of data out there, and you just need to take a look at it and know what to do with it.
Yeah.
And figure out what goal do you want to improve, right?
Right.
Last year we had a really low-hanging fruit goal with the SATs. So New Hampshire makes every junior take the SAT.
Yes, my daughter did last year.
And they can take it again. And,
yep.
we pay for kids to take it again.
That's
Um,
wonderful.
but when I first came in, okay, so 95% of your students have to take state testing.
Okay.
Okay. If they don't, okay, the score, the average gets divided by the number that should have been the kids that took the test. So say 100 kids are supposed to take the test. They do the average, okay, and 5 kids were absent. They're going to divide it by 95. Okay. If you're supposed to have 100 and only 87 kids take the test, they take the average score and divide it by the 95.
Yeah.
Because 95 were supposed to take it.
That's not good.
So you're basically zeroing out in your average a bunch of scores. So I said, all right, I'm new. I've only been there. I haven't been there 2 years. And I said, we don't even know if our scores are accurate. We don't know because we don't know if we're being accurately represented because only, I think it was 83% of our kids were taking the test.
That's a huge gap.
Yeah.
That's a lot of zeros.
That was one of my goals. I go, let's just get it to 95%. Every kid is taking this test.
Yeah.
And if not, there is an opt-out form. So we had some kids go off to high set. They're under our jurisdiction still, and we are supposed to make them take the test.
Okay.
Difficult because they're in high set and they haven't enjoyed their high school experience.
Yeah.
So we talked to the parents. We said they either A, have to come in, or B, we have to give them the opt-out form. So some of them chose to take the opt-out form.
Oh.
But we always encourage kids to take the SAT because then you have your scores if you need them for college or whatever.
You can change your
never
mind
know
a
what
year
you're
or
gonna
two
do.
later for
Then
sure.
you don't have to pay for a test.
Yeah.
Because the state pays for those tests.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anyway, so that was one of our goals. So we looked at the data, and I mean, it's low hanging fruit.
Yeah.
But we hit it. So
Well,
I
you
was
gotta
like,
start
okay, so
somewhere.
now we know our scores are accurate. Now let's work on the scores,
Yeah.
right? So, yeah. And we did have 5 kids this year qualify for national recognition, which is pretty big because the school itself only has like 200, the high school only has like 230 kids.
That's pretty good.
So
then.
5 out of that's not terrible if you
Yeah.
did the percent. I never really told you how I went from hazardous waste
Oh no, yeah, drop
to
that on me. Yeah, how do you make that transition?
So I was getting my master's
Yep.
in environmental ed.
Okay.
That was part of the story, remember?
Yep.
Okay. So I started out with the Master's of Arts in Teaching, and I did all of the coursework for that. Then this Master's of Environmental Ed was brand new, and I wanted to get that. And I had pretty much everything I needed for it except a couple things. But the UNH teachers were on strike at the time, the professors.
Oh.
And so they couldn't add any more programs. They were fighting over a contract at the time.
Okay, that makes sense.
And so they couldn't add any new programs. So it was like basically like treading water because I really wanted that degree. And I took a couple other classes, just filling things up. And I did some internships. I worked at the alt school in Rochester. And then I got an internship over at Seco Science Center. And eventually the degree went through and I graduated. But I was working at the Seco Science Center, which was a really fun job. And they closed because Judd Gregg, I think it was Judd Gregg at the time, got a big amount of money to renovate the place. So they said, we're going to close for 2 months. And I was like, oh, okay, I'll do some substitute teaching.
Oh.
And so I took a substitute position at Oyster River Middle School. And then a part-time job opened up at Oyster River High School. But I wasn't certified because I didn't finish my Master's of Arts in Teaching, even though I had all the coursework. So I took the part-time job. They gave it to me anyway. And then I was able to do the cert, just like we described earlier.
Yep.
And stayed there for 3 years part-time, and then was offered the job in Portsmouth full-time. So that's how I ended up in the traditional classroom.
I mean, you must have loved it if you stuck it out part-time for 3 years.
Yeah.
And then...
And I think I learned, first of all, teaching was really fun. physical science, you can't think of a better class to teach.
I
We
agree
did
with
labs
you.
every day.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm like going to classrooms. I'm like, what are you guys doing today? Oh, we're just taking notes. I'm like, what? We don't just take notes. We got to do notes. Then we do
Yeah, you got to get
drinks
into
and
it.
balls and
Yeah.
throw things. And we threw a bowling ball. 3 stories, we dropped a bowling ball. Because the guy across the hall from me, he was a physics teacher,
Yep.
and he was crazy. He would do boat races in the pool.
I feel like all physics teachers are, at least a
And we
little.
were dropping things. And one of, I don't know, we went to get the force plate. Like there's this force plate you can drop things on, and it will tell you what the force was when it hit. And then Mr. Duncan was like, hey, do you want to try the bowling ball? And I was like, sure. I'm like, the students, we know what
Yeah.
they do. So Mr. Collins was principal at the time, and the stairwell was literally right across from his thing. So Mr. Duncan gave us like some thing, this cushion that we could drop it on, but it still rocked the whole building. Anyway, physical science was really, really fun.
Yeah.
And so I love teaching that. Ecology, that's where my heart is. So, and then the gardening class. And so that experience there was great. I ran a couple clubs. I ran the We Speak Club, which was a diversity club, and the Eco Club, which they did a lot of stuff, the Eco Club.
Where do you get all of your energy?
So Eco Club was great. They're still going strong, and so is We Speak. So We Speak started right around Black Lives Matter movement. That's where it came out of. But it was social justice, and they did a lot of stuff. But the other thing I was saying is like, when you work in a place where you're given some latitude to do things your own way.
Yeah.
Not that we didn't have PLCs there, because we did.
Right.
And we had to make sure we were always like on track, well, what are you doing today? Oh, I'm over here. Okay, I'm just a day ahead, day behind with the other physical science teachers or what have you. But the idea that you had some latitude to do creative things keeps you there. So again, it was a fun place to work. It really was. People were super nice, and
Yeah, it sounds like you've had some amazing experiences along the way.
yeah.
I've only known you for 4 years now.
Yep.
3
or 4.
3 or 4, something like that. And you have always been like this ball of energy, like wanting to get out there and make change and do things. I think that anybody that has you on their team is like so lucky.
Well,
But
again, yeah,
is
it's good to have a leader that trusts you and says, "Oh, awesome! How can I help?"
Yeah.
Right? And so that's what I kind of learned on my way, was that's the best leadership, and that's the right leadership for me. Is I don't have to have all the ideas. All I have to do is say, "I'm on board. Let me know what I can do."
Yeah, well, your energy is contagious.
So
And what I'm wondering though, because we've had so many good talks along the way, like what else are you passionate about? Like, I know your education is huge, obviously. The environment's big. Do you have any other like big priorities or anything that
well, I wrote this children's book.
I remember that. Oh my God, I had forgotten about that.
Okay.
I love that book.
Oh,
Yeah.
and it's a children's ecological fantasy, I like to call it. It's about, the little Daisy family, and they live on the stone wall in New England,
Yeah.
pretty much in Stratford. And Daisy Jane and her sister Daisy May and all their little animal friends, like the ant and the spider and whatever. They have a lot of things they have to do. They have to solve problems, right? And I wrote the book so that it's an almanac. So you things are coming into bloom throughout the seasons.
Yep.
June, July, and August.
Yep.
And so there's things that happen like droughts. There's rain days, of course. There's the summer solstice parade, which is a big deal. A lot of little babies. You'd have to read it. But there's the progression of our New England summer. And of course, at the end, the daisies have to go to sleep.
Right.
And
right.
they're going to sleep till summer comes again. And the spider gets hurt. So there's a big problem about how do we help the spider get through the winter. To me, that book has taken some wings in my own head.
Okay.
So I realize it's really hard to sell books.
Very hard, especially in today's world.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I said, all right, I got to make something to go with the books. So I found this beautiful company out in North Adams, Massachusetts, that sells this wool belt that is so soft and luxurious. And I bought it, and I started to make the daisies out of this felt. Okay.
Okay.
So I did that. And then I was like, well, bedtime reading is so important. I'm going to start making pajamas for children.
My God.
But
Okay.
then I was like, oh, and the daisies have to have a sleep sack to match the pajamas.
Are you one of those people that take a small idea and then makes it into like this?
And so
Yeah.
I have my little sweatshop. I call it my sweatshop.
Yeah.
Someone will call me. I'm working in the sweatshop today.
Yeah.
Because those daisies take hours to make.
Yeah.
However, and there's a nature journal, by the way. And I made little sachets for the little ones, like when they get read to,
Yeah.
they can like rub the little wool because it's got lanolin in it. I scented them with like jasmine and lavender.
Oh my
Anyway,
goodness.
so so I package them up with the books, and basically the books are free,
Yeah.
or whatever. And now they're selling a little bit
Okay.
because the kids want the little daisy. And I'm like, well, have a book with it because I can't sell these books. I've got thousands of books sitting in my daughter's old bedroom.
But that's a genius way to do it because that's genius because anybody can get a book, but to get a handmade, whatever with that is some next level stuff. So that's smart.
So I package them all up, and I have like,
Wait, are you a very creative person? Do you have like hobbies that crafts and
besides
stuff?
that,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I always keep something going.
Well, yeah, you sound like you do. But
Yeah,
like
I'm an avid gardener. I mean,
gardener what do you like to
I've
grow?
done everything. I've got.
Fruits, vegetables.
So I used to have a garden
flowers?
stand.
Okay.
It's called Morning Dew Gardens.
Oh, I
So
like
that's
that.
my LLC.
Okay.
And we just have a lot of gardens. We have flower gardens everywhere, and we have an orchard and raised bed gardens for vegetables. So yeah. So that's. I mean, I garden and
You're a lot.
I do projects.
Yeah, as a person, you're a lot. Like,
But the whole daisy thing is just, I'm like, I got to get rid of these books. Well, before I know it, I'll be moving them to the attic. You know how things progressively move
yeah,
in your house. And so I was like,
that
okay,
is
I got to make stuff.
that is such a cool thing to.
A lot of people locally have bought them.
Yeah, I mean, you could
So-
probably drop off a couple in businesses, like
I have that on my list. I just need to do it. I haven't figured out. So when I went to the Tender Crop, had a sunflower festival.
Yeah,
That was awesome. And it was huge. And it was outside, and it was a beautiful day, sunflowers everywhere. So it was a perfect place for me and my daisy books things.
yeah.
And they went really well. The little kids loved them.
Have you dropped off any copies at any of the school libraries or local libraries? At
No,
all?
but I should. I
Okay.
need to get out there and pedal my
Sorry,
wares.
this is now
just
this is
sit
now
there
my.
Sit there at the sewing machine, like with my grandmother's
that's-
old singer,
That's fun.
1960s singer, just keeps on going. Knock on wood.
I have one in the other room.
Love it. Simple.
Oh my goodness, they're so
And it's
dependable.
Great.
They're
It's
metal.
Like, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like I clean it. I keep it all up to date. I learned to sew on that machine. So
Yeah, you really cram your days full of activity. So
yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I like to do. I don't know. That's just what I've been up to.
yeah,
I don't really travel that much. My son lives in South Carolina, so I'm hoping to get down there.
yeah.
He lives in.
Do you get to go down there very often or no?
No,
No?
because the teaching schedule, and I'm admin, so you really don't. You don't get the same like school vacations.
No. Your schedule is really tight. I mean,
Yeah,
we
it's
had
busy life being an admin.
Yeah.
That's why when they start talking about consolidating to 12 superintendents, I'm like, no one is going to have enough time in their day for that.
yeah, it's a lot of work for
It's crazy.
just 12 people. That is insane. That's how you get things not done.
And elected, so it could flip.
Yeah.
anytime.
Oh, wouldn't that be
So
a nightmare?
consistency of like
Ugh.
programming. I mean, most it's sad. Most superintendents don't stay longer than 3 years. I guess that's the average
What's
in
the
the
next
school
step? Like,
district.
where do you go after
Oh,
that?
higher pay somewhere maybe, or I don't know.
Okay. I didn't know if there was like an evolution to
They move
the,
around a lot,
yeah.
and I'm not like that. Like, I like to find a place where I'm like, okay, I can do good work here, and I'm going to stay and do that good work. I'm not looking to jump,
You
jump up
don't
the
ever want to
ladder.
be a superintendent?
I do, but I'm not. I'm definitely not ready.
Really?
No, no, I need more experience.
After all these years, you still don't have enough.
I'm learning. Let me put
Okay.
it that way. And I'm learning from a lot of different people.
But it is something that you
Um,
want to do.
yes, definitely.
You want to stay
Um,
local, or do you have like
I'm going to
a
stay in the
district?
seacoast. I would stay in the seacoast. I like it here. I know it. I know it well. I
Yeah.
know the politics of the seacoast. I know the people of the seacoast. That's a
Oh,
lot
you
of how
have
you
to be
get crap
so
done,
well
right?
connected.
When you know people, you can get stuff done. You can learn from others. And just making connections uh, with Oyster River, very helpful curriculum coordinator. Um, so I was working on those 306s, and she reached out and she said, "Hey, want to hop on a Zoom and let me tell you what we've done so far." And so that network, hugely important.
Yeah.
And so getting to know that network, be able to navigate that network, I think is a big step to the position of superintendent. But you got to learn for a while. You got to work your way up.
I believe it. I believe
And
it.
I'm a strong believer in work your way up. I think when people pop in out of nowhere, they miss a lot of the DNA, if you will, of what was going on.
Yeah.
And they'll come in and try to reinvent everything that you've already been working on, right? And so if you are going to take that superintendent position, you need to come in with that understanding that there are already existing programs, and you have to learn about those first before you start your march to whatever it is you want to bring in,
Yeah.
right? And some people do come in with that, and then they change a job and they go somewhere else, right? And they come in with specific things they want to do, not understanding the community they're nestled in.
Do you interface with the public much? Is
So I have to be at the school board meetings every other week.
okay.
Oh, no, every other week. I'm sorry, once a month.
Once a month. Yeah.
Once a month. It's been busier than usual because of the budget and the other things. Um, so I run the family engagement nights in collaboration with the teachers and the principals. So I'm always meeting them. I started an after school program called Tiger Beats. So there's parent pickup. When I'm there, I can interact, or they connect with me when they need resources or have a problem that they need help solving. Um, so there's that. So yeah, so and my superintendent, she is amazing, and she just picked up the job not too long ago, but she's worked in Farmington forever, and she worked her way up, and she can navigate that system like nobody else. And I think it's important for me to learn from her as well.
Yeah.
The things that she brings to the table. We work pretty well together. So we are very forward facing. We try to be forward facing. Our social media could be a little bit better. We've been trying lately because we've gotten some bad press because we were in a $300,000 deficit. And then school care sent an additional bill,
Oh.
$300,000.
Yeah.
And so we've been trying to dig out of that.
I feel like that's kind of across the state though,
Oh,
right? Like,
everyone got that bill.
yeah, I don't think it's isolated, right?
No, not at all. But when you're in it, it's hard. And being new to the position that she was in, she really had to give a lot of her attention to trying to solve the problem.
Yeah, budgets are they're a nightmare sometimes.
Well, and supposedly it started ages ago, and there was perhaps some ESSER money back in the COVID craziness
Yeah.
that didn't get billed out, or maybe they thought it would be ESSER money, and then ESSER said no because there was a part where they could say no. No one's quite sure, but that's what the auditors had said,
Yeah.
or the people that reviewed the book said, we think it started here and we think this might be the problem. But I think it's going to be solved.
I hope. I hope. And I know there's a lot of like what ifs right now in our state, from the legislature to
Yeah.
the schools, and who knows what our future is going to be and all of that. So
So yeah.
It-
There's there's things you got to learn along the way.
Yeah.
And it's important, typically, you want to stay as long as you can to get that information that will help you be a better leader.
Yeah.
Um,
Are you excited to go to Concord and like do this kind of stuff, or do you have other ideas that you want to work on up there outside of this?
well,
Or
I think I would use that same premise,
yeah,
what's in the ideas of what's in the works, um, and and what committees would I serve best on?
yeah,
And if there are things in the work, um, that maybe I don't think necessarily are the best for our educational systems or state in general.
yep.
How do I learn to navigate that system, right? How do you step into it and take some leadership and say, here's why this isn't a good idea, right? Here's what the spin-offs are from this. Because those spin-offs are what's going to cause the problems. Like, you have to vet things well. And that was one of the big pushbacks on the open enrollment. And I think even Kelly Ayotte said it. This, you can't just roll this out. There are way too many dangling chads for us to be able to know what to expect.
Yeah.
This needs to be vetted better. And so those kinds of things where, hey, let's take a step back, let's vet it, let's see what's going on. State adequacy, I mean, fingers crossed on this Claremont thing that they're trying to overturn. That is hugely important to all of us.
Yep.
How do we help our local taxpayers across the state by improving that adequacy? And $4,000 is a drop in the bucket. I mean,
It costs $20,000 a year to send a kid from Barrington to one of the high schools, one of the 3 or 4 choices that we have.
yep.
And 4,000 is it's not even 25% of that. So that means all my neighbors have to pitch in
Yep.
and pay a little bit more to send my kid to school or somebody else's kid. So yeah, I mean, we need better financing. We need
definitely
better,
need that improved. We need to get the EFAs under control.
but we
That
need
budget's
people that
ridiculous.
understand this to go to Concord and actually work on it.
Yes. And
You
that
know?
would be my goal,
Yeah.
right? Let's keep things straight. Let's work together, with our Board of Ed,
Yeah.
with the other voices that are involved, right? But let's vet these things and think, in New Hampshire, what does that look like? It might look okay in another state.
Yeah.
It's going to cause chaos in New Hampshire, and you're going to rob people blind. Real dollars are going to be leaving your communities and taking a little walk down the road somewhere else.
Yeah.
And people work hard for those dollars. People are working hard out there, right? We know the minimum wage isn't good enough. We know that all of the things aren't really, inflation is high, maybe leveling off, but prices aren't going down.
Yeah.
And so we're stuck with what we're stuck with. And that livable wage needs to be talked about. All those things, right, add up.
Yeah.
And so real dollars leaving our communities, we need to, stop, drop, and talk. Like, that cannot happen. We have to figure this out better.
For sure.
We need to get that dividends tax back. We need to get something back, even if it's just a certain percentage of people.
Yeah.
We need more revenue. We
Oh,
don't
absolutely.
have the revenue.
We are in negative territory right now. One glaring question that I do want to ask you is, I know that your schedule's tight, and I know that you work really long hours and you're so involved, but I also know that the New Hampshire legislature is in session 6 months out of the year. It's a pretty heavy lift depending on what committees you're on and when votes are and all that. Are you going to be able to balance both?
So, first, let me get in the office.
Yeah, please. But
let me just get into the office, right? Let me be elected.
But this could be a concern, right?
Well, not as it depends,
Okay.
and I have a plan, so I'm pretty sure I can handle it. If that's what you're asking.
Yeah, basically, I think a lot of people might ask that,
There's
right?
a lot of creative ways to,
Like, I want somebody
produce.
with your experience up there, guiding the system and how they're going to educate New Hampshire's future. But I also know
The realities.
the realities are, we hear it as candidates before, like, hey, we need to make sure that people are showing up
Right.
and making the votes, because if you're absent, then, things can go bad.
Yep.
And so that's why I want to ask, because I know if somebody's watching this, they're like, well, how is she gonna, be
Right.
able to do both? And
I mean, there's creative schedules.
Absolutely.
And there's benefits to, you know, being in the position I'm in,
Yeah.
how I can work those hours out. Um, so I, I'm not going to, I have a plan. Let me put it that way. So,
Yeah, yeah. No, I
um,
trust you. You seem like you have your stuff together. I was just blown away because last time
well,
when
I
we
mean, you're going to
ran,
sell daisies? Probably not.
yeah, probably not, right? Something's gonna suffer.
I have to get to work now and make a whole bunch.
Right. We sat next to each other when we went to Manchester for the training. And one of the big
Yeah,
points from one of the current reps was I'm glad that you're here to run, but it doesn't help us if you can't show up.
right.
And that has sat with
That,
me for so long of like understanding the power of being a legislature, right? Like
yep.
just going and telling everybody else how they're gonna live, you know?
So I think there's a balance there, but
Yeah.
unless we want independently wealthy people in those offices,
Yep.
or we want retired people in those offices only,
Right. People that
then
don't know the everyday.
we have to recognize if you want to recruit, people that are still in the workforce and still have, new ideas and ideas that they would like to bring, then we have to kind of make that work, right?
Yes.
Otherwise, we're going to be stuck with what we have, and it's been frustrating for people, especially our youth.
Right.
They are frustrated.
Yeah, they're the end product.
Yep. And
Right.
they are frustrated with, you hear them say it. The only ones that can take advantage of being our representatives are older people who are retired,
Yep.
and have the resources and the money, and time to fill that position. And by doing that, we're not necessarily attracting young voices or the voices that we need that are out in the trenches right now doing the work, right?
Yeah. I want serious people doing
Yeah.
this. I don't want people that are just like, well, I got time between Mahjong and whatever it is that they're doing. I want to send real people that are going to make real
So we have to
progress.
figure that out. So,
Yes.
yeah. So that's just part of like fighting for how you will contribute, right? Like, how will you contribute to the legislature? How will you be there?
Yeah.
What do those hours look like? Now, fortunate, I am a grant writer. A lot of my grant writing I do at home.
Okay. So you do have
Yeah,
flexibility then.
a little bit, a little
Okay.
bit. Um, I put my time in, and I think people know that. So
I've never seen you as a slouch. I want to make very clear that question, I'm going to ask probably everybody that question because it's such a huge
yeah,
thing. Like, I can't remember the representative's name. It starts with a T. Tez. I can't remember her name, but it was such a huge point. She's like, it's great that you run, but if you're not there,
can't
then
be a
it hurts
voice.
us. And I respect that.
And the other thing, is the Stratford County delegation.
Oh, true, true.
Hugely important to me.
Yes.
Hugely, hugely important to me to help that, nursing home.
Yeah, yeah.
Move
We're both on
along.
the executive council. You're the secretary of the Stratford County. So, I mean, you clearly have the resume,
Yeah. But getting that nursing home through, I think is something really, really important. That nursing home has been like that since, I always like to say, since I tap danced for Nancy Kelly Breton for the day she used to bring us over to do volunteer work,
Yeah.
at Christmas time and put on a Christmas show.
Our community deserves it. Our elderly deserves it. Like nobody wants to go out with,
No, I can't remember what was the ratio of showers.
it
It
was
was
hard.
something ridiculous,
The numbers there,
like 1 to 30.
yeah, it's something horrible. And our elders, they deserve it. We're all going to be old,
Yeah,
hopefully. And
and
like,
the staff was so lovely and nice.
I've
Like,
heard that. So,
we did the tour, and it was like, again, don't have the resources, but you got the people that make it seem okay,
yeah.
right? Same with our schools. We don't have the resources, but we got the people that can make it seem okay.
I hope that we'll get there
But
eventually.
yeah, we do need that nursing home. We do. We do.
Um, I think we've definitely hit a lot of the high points here. And one, I don't know if I'll ever have somebody that's so involved in education in New Hampshire in front of me to ask all these questions again. So one, thank you for sharing that information. And two, this is so good. But I want to give you the last like thought. Where can people find you? What can they do to contribute to your campaign? how can they connect with you, maybe as a teacher, professional, or anything you want to cover? It's yours. You get the last word.
I guess, well, one thing, I just want people to stay tuned, and pay attention to what's going on, because it does affect you. I think for a long time there was a perception, the government just rolls along and my life's just staying the same. And I don't think we can say that anymore. So we have to pay attention, have to read the bulletins. We have to, do our research a little bit and find out what's going on. And do I like this bill? Do I not like this bill? Um, and and if I don't like it, I'm going to reach out to one of my reps,
Hopefully
right?
testify.
Yeah,
Yeah.
testify would be great. But really, just pay attention, because things are shifting and changing. And by the time sometimes it gets in front of people, they're voting the next day or something, right? So how do we get that information out to people? I have a Facebook, elect Kimberly McGlinchey. So people
I'll
can
make
go
sure
to
there's a
that.
link.
Yep. And I've been trying to post as much as I can on this school stuff. Just, I don't have a lot of followers, but enough that, maybe it gets passed along in terms of, hey, this one really affects our pocketbooks. This one affects our children. This one affects, the literature in the library, whatever it is that they're going after. Um, and then I do have a website too, thanks to a shout out to Benjamin Doyle, nice UNH student,
Sounds great.
who put that together. I think it is just electkimberlymcglinchey.com.
Keeping it simple. I'm
So,
going to put all these links in the description so people can click on
yeah.
them.
And so that's how you find me. I have an ActBlue account, so
Okay.
people can contribute to that. What else? Really, I mean, my request is for everyone to pay attention.
Yeah.
Because I'm only one voice, but if we have a lot of voices, I think we're seeing that it actually does make a difference. No matter what it is, if you care about something and you step up and say, I'm actually going to say I care about this, and I'm not just going to keep liking everyone else who cares about it. I need to care about it in my own voice too.
Yeah.
Right? Does that make sense? Because it's real easy to like all the posts that
No,
say,
it takes a village
yeah,
to do the heavy lift.
yeah. And it seems like we really have to show up in person.
Yes.
The social media stuff is great. It does get traction, but not nearly as much as people standing out and saying we don't want ice in Merrimack, right?
Yeah, it makes a big difference.
Yeah. And ice out of Minnesota, and all of the different things that people have had to say, okay. And you hear people say, right, like, I usually don't protest, but I knew I had to come out, right?
Yeah.
So how do we make sure that the collective impact is there, right?
It makes a big difference when we all come together. We can absolutely
make
push the
change.
needle, the needle.
The needle. We can make change.
Yeah, it's very important that we come together as a community and really voice our concerns for the things that we want in our community and the things that we don't want in our
Right.
communities. So,
Right.
yeah,
And
I
talk
agree.
to people about it. The open enrollment, there'd be so many people, and they're like, oh yeah, we got this open enrollment thing coming up. I just sneak it into a conversation, and like, what? What's that? What do you mean? What? What are they doing? Like, right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
just drop it into a conversation somehow, and you'd be amazed at how many people you consider educated, and they're just like,
Yeah,
what are
look,
you doing?
not everybody has all the time in the day to study all these things, so
Right.
you have to lean on people that
And
are
you gotta just drop it
experts.
in there and just talk about it.
Yeah,
So yeah, so I think that's what we all have to do, right? We have to really pay attention,
yeah,
because
I agree.
we're getting, like, the time when we've got to look for the signs, the exits, whatever's going on on our trip. We're not just cruising down the highway anymore.
Yeah. Well, again, thank you so much for giving us this information, the time, and I want to do this again with you too, especially as we get closer
Okay.
to the primary and the general election, because a lot's going to change between now and then
Oh,
for the
I'm sure.
education. We're just at the beginning of the legislation session, so yeah, I want to hear more about all of this stuff in a few months. Hopefully, we can get you in.
And we should give a shout out for our congressional candidates that are coming to the Barrington Middle School.
Oh, yes.
April 8th.
April 8th, we have CD1. We have, I think, 7 people.
We do.
They're all competing for Chris Pappas's U.S. representative seat. What time is it? Do you know off the top of your head by
6,
chance? 6? Okay, so it's in the evening after
6 to
everybody
8.
6 to 8. All right, perfect. So hopefully people will come out, they'll ask questions, they'll participate, they'll
I will be there.
share. I will be there, you'll be there.
I'll
I
be
think
there.
there'll be a lot of people that are going to be there. I'm hoping that I'll be able to record some of
Oh,
this
that's cool.
and put it up on the YouTube as well so people can watch this after the fact, but I don't know if somebody's already doing it. We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
But yes, we have a lot going on. We have primary September 8th. We have general election, whatever the first Tuesday is in November. It might be November 3rd this year.
Yeah, because my son's getting married
Oh,
on
wow.
Halloween,
Oh, my
which is
goodness. That could be a fun wedding, though.
I'm sure it will be.
Yeah.
They're fun people.
Well,
So I'm gonna have to come back
okay.
because I'm gonna be stuck in Charleston.
Oh, my goodness.
Not really stuck. It's gonna be fun, but
Yeah, but coming
yeah,
back
I
for
know
that.
it's tough because usually the weekend before
Yeah.
the
Well,
election.
it's a big year. It's a big year, a lot going on. Thank you again.
You're welcome. Thank
And
you for having me. I
yeah,
appreciate it.
100%.